I have anxiety, like right now. Everyone breathe with me, help me relax a bit. Okay, I have anxiety. And if you think about my anxiety on a scale from 0 to 10, 10 being the most anxious I can feel at any moment, when I wake up every morning, I'm at least a 2 or a 3. There is not a single day that passes that I am not anxious for some, and often most of the day, like today, as you can imagine. You know that feeling when you have a hair, like it's on your arm or your shoulder, and it's annoying you and you're trying to pull it off? Think about 400 hairs all over your body poking at your skin, and no matter what you do, you cannot brush them off. That's my 5 or 6. Now imagine taking your finger and putting it into a light socket and feeling that jolt of electricity. Keep your finger there all day long and feel the current buzzing around your body in waves. Bzzz, bzzz, bzzz. That's my 8 or 9. On December 28th, 2011, my dad died of a sudden and massive heart attack, and that event took my already very anxious body to new heights. I became afraid of everything and preoccupied with all of the what-ifs in life. What if my husband dies? What if my kids get sick? What if I get in a car accident? I was paralyzed and I could barely even leave the home. Soon after his death, my husband and I were sitting at the kitchen table, and I was crying uncontrollably and biting down on my hand so hard I was piercing my skin. My husband looked at me and said, "Stephanie, you're scaring me." Honestly, I was scaring myself. I could not live like that anymore. I was suffering from anxiety. So I went looking for a class, an activity, anything that I could do to somehow minimize all of that discomfort. Naturally, I considered yoga, meditation, wasn't really connecting with me. So I thought about something I had tried a few times on vacation and went looking for it and found it right here in Laval, a flying trapeze school. Yeah, like in the circus flying trapeze. You grab a bar, swing through the air, let go, and someone catches you. That trapeze. And even though I'm also deathly afraid of heights, I signed up for a class, and while I was driving there, I was already at a level 4, just imagining what I was about to do. By the time I parked in the parking lot, I had bumped to a 5, and when I opened the door and saw the height of that ladder and platform, 21 feet up, oh boy, I was at a 6. As I started to climb the ladder, I was shaking, and I was at a 7. By the time I got to the top, I was standing on the platform, clutching on with both hands and just trembling at an 8. They hook you into safety lines and then tell you, let go of a hand and lean forward and grab the bar. Okay, 9. When they said, let go of that other hand and just lean forward even further and grab on, that put me at a 10. Ready, hep. That's what they say to get you to jump. And I jumped, and I was terrified. So terrified, in fact, that I disassociated from my body. I was like in another place, almost watching myself like I was in a dream, and I barely remember that class. You could probably see that in my face. It was terrifying. That's that lean forward. Still, I signed up for another class, and another, and another. And for the next 6 months, every time I was driving there, I was saying to myself, what am I doing? I suffer from anxiety. Why am I putting myself through this? 6 months into classes, something really big happened. My coach told me that I was ready to take my first swing out of lines. What that means is unattached to safety lines. I was like, what? I'm already at a 6, a 7, an 8 every time I'm here. The thought about swinging out of lines sent me to a 10. But with his encouragement, I climbed up the ladder, stood on the platform, grabbed the bar, ready, hep, and I took that first swing out of lines. And it was petrifying, but it was also exhilarating. The freedom, the liberation I felt swinging through the air, unburdened, was like nothing I had experienced, and I wanted the feeling again. But the amount of angst and discomfort that it took getting me to that point was too overwhelming, and I didn't think I could keep doing this. So I started to think about my life and think about the words that I was using to describe myself and noticing how those words were creating my experiences. I was telling myself that I suffer from anxiety. That's exactly what I was creating, suffering. So I resolved to throw out that word and try and use some sort of positive phrasing just to see what could happen. And the next time I climbed up the ladder, stood on the platform, and grabbed that bar, I said to myself, I live with anxiety, and look what I can do anyway. And I'll tell you, I was still at a 10. I was still really, really uncomfortable. But what I found was that by embracing the discomfort, by using positive and constructive language, I could actually thrive. And my whole life started to get better. I'm a social worker, and I work with individuals who are diagnosed with dementia. And after becoming so acutely aware of the power of language in my own life, I started to listen very carefully to the language that all of us use to describe aging and disease. And I noticed how negatively biased it is. As a colleague of mine says, we place a senior in a residence, place a person, like an object or a bottle of water. Where is a human being in that word place? Or we describe someone like me who has anxiety as mentally ill. Now, some of you who know me may argue this point, but I don't see myself as mentally ill. I actually see myself as mentally healthy and strong. Families and healthcare professionals use language like this to describe not only who we are, but to glue us into a state of being. Nobody I know says, I am cancer. So why do people say, I am bipolar? I am diabetic? And our systems have embedded this language even deeper. In the insurance world, we're required that we label someone as disabled, the complete opposite of acknowledging their abilities just so they can get benefits. Or our legal system, here in Montreal even, requires that we deem somebody totally incompetent so a family member can help them. This is ridiculous. Nobody is totally incompetent. And as a result of this adverse terminology spilling into our healthcare systems, the systems themselves are developed and managed in a way that creates fear, isolation, and an inability to see us for what we can do. Families are left feeling guilty and ashamed as they are misled to believe that we disappear as we age, instead of just change and require a new type of care and support. Every single one of us in this room is getting older. And all of us will be a part of this twisted and broken healthcare system. Right now in the United States, there are 1.4 million seniors living in nursing homes. All of us, after the age of 65, at some point on average, will require 3 years of long-term care. And the number of family caregivers has tripled in the last 20 years. The numbers are there. There are more and more seniors and less resources. This will matter to your grandparents. It will matter to your parents, and it will matter to you. So maybe you're saying, okay, I get it. What we say creates our experiences, but how can a change in my language actually shift the aging experience? Let's think back to some times in history when a single voice led to huge changes in our society. Rosa Parks, 1955, Alabama. She sat on the front of the bus and refused to give up her seat to a white person. Her voice led to many voices which galvanized a movement demanding rights and equality for African Americans. And I know we have a long way to go there, but right now in the United States, there is an African American president. And that is a long way from the back of the bus. What about the HIV community in the 1980s? Ignored, disregarded. One voice led to many voices, and now there are billions of dollars being poured into HIV research and treatment. Those voices did create a massive shift in our health and medical care systems. I know that aging is scary and uncomfortable for most of us. That's why we have this, a very profitable industry of injections and surgeries and creams and diets and supplements to try and convince us that we can avoid what is inescapable. I'm not minimizing that there are challenges that come with aging because I know that there are. What I am saying is that talking about aging in a way that cements us in a bed of negativity does nothing to help us discover those golden gems and nuggets that are available to us as we evolve physically, emotionally, and spiritually. This is what I know. Language is central to the way that we perceive, evaluate, and react to a situation. I'm suggesting that we do away with terms like disabled, incompetent, disappear, fade away, suffer, place. Use words that show us and everybody around us who we are, not who we are not, just as I did for myself. Imagine what could happen to our health and medical care systems if we did this. I know that it may seem subtle, but it will inspire us to do more, demand more, and not only change our mindset about aging, but the systems in which all of us one day will seek support. Using affirming language can spark creativity to help us find new and innovative ways to meet the challenges that lie ahead. I reject spending even a portion of my life in the corner of a nursing home, slumped over, over-medicated, unresponsive, and alone. And you should reject that image too. I propose that we all start with our own internal dialogue. Think about the words that you use to describe yourself and the words you use to describe others. Find one limiting word, just one, and it doesn't even have to be about aging. Just find that word, throw it out, and replace it with a word that stirs your spirit, and see what positive change can happen. I live with anxiety, and with anxiety, I live fully. If we are what we say, then why not say something different? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.